Hey everyone, okay, so today's video is a bit of a different one. So before you comment, if you could just listen to the video because you may be kind of finding a solution to this issue and I may have already kind of gone over that it didn't work. So I've basically always driven mini cars, always. And in the end of June in 2019, I swapped my Mini for a Tesla Model 3 and everything was fine. For about 6 weeks, it was the height of summer until it rained. Now this happened, and this was my view. Now this is with light rain. When it's really raining and the blades are going back and forward really quickly, the visibility is so poor that it's hard to explain on a video. It's just really poor. You cannot see properly through it. And there's this weird smearing on the screen and then this pattern that develops as you'll see throughout these videos. Now, the day after I took the video and I noticed that there was this really bad visibility issue, I went to Halfords and they had two technicians, one inside the car and one outside the car. And they said they think that it's a problem with the blade not making proper contact with the screen. Now, of course, I don't know anything about cars, but made kind of sense to me. So I send the videos to Tesla in Tesla Bristol. Now they're about a 130-mile round trip from me. So I go there and explain to them what's happening. They've got the videos. Now what they do is they sit in the car, just one person, they put the windscreen washer on and say, there's nothing wrong with the blades at all, but they clean the blade and they wipe the window with an alcohol wipe, like a panel spray, and send me on my way. Made no difference. It was exactly the same. So from that moment on, I sent an email explaining I still can't see at night. It's really, really bad. It took 23 days for them to decide that they were going to change the screen in the car, the glass. They were going to take the whole thing out and replace it. Fantastic. So they do that and it's exactly the same. The exact same issue is happening again, just on the driver's side. Tesla confirmed that there is no film on the screen. So there's nothing on the screen that's causing this. There's no grease, there's no film, there's nothing wrong with the blades. But it's still happening again on my side of the screen. And it's just horrible because you feel incredibly self-conscious driving, especially if you know it's raining or if it's going to rain, you feel uncomfortable because you know your vision is impaired when you're driving this car. After toing and throwing from them and going back and forward to bloody Tesla, they decide to take my car in, keep it in and drive it themselves so they can see the problem themselves. They give me a loan car. They give me another exact model of mine, basically, for me to drive. So they drive my car, I drive their loan car. Luckily, it started to rain while I was driving their loan car, so I could take footage comparing their car to my car. And as you can see, it's night and day. Their car was perfectly clear at night in the rain, no problems. Even in heavy rain, it was perfect, which was great news for me because now I have finally had proof. Look at the difference between my cars. Thankfully, they phoned and said, we see the problem, we've driven it, we know there's a problem, we're going to fix it. But they didn't know how to fix it. So they decided to change the screen again. So we've got the brand new car with the screen in. They take that screen out. Now they're going to take it out again and put a new one in. That's going to fix the problem. That's what they said. And it's also worth noting that Tesla mentioned that they had never, ever seen a problem like this before. They'd never come across it. So it's just my car, which kind of makes sense because I had their loan car and it was fine. So they changed the screen. Fantastic. And I go about my way. But before I do, they kind of inform me that there's been a bit of a problem with this windscreen, that there's now suction marks all over the glass. And there's suction marks inside the glass as well. But they're not going to change it because they want to see if the screen works first, if there's a problem. Then I can drive right the way back down again and they can try and scrub it out, even though they told me prior that they'd had to change people's screens for the same issue. Okay, so I get a piece of glass that really has got crop circles all over it, but at least I get to drive away and it's going to be fixed. It's not fixed. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same things happened again on the driver's side. Poor vision loss, blurring, this weird pattern that appears on the screen. And they don't know what to do and I don't know what to do. So the first thing they tell me after this screen is, what glass cleaner are you using? And I say G-Tech, I think it's G6, it's just a standard glass cleaner. They then say, well, we think it's the glass cleaner that's done this. So I'm like, no, I don't think it is, because I've used it on all my other cars. I even used it on your loan car, and it was fine. And I haven't used it at all on this brand new piece of glass. So it can't be that, can it? But they think it is. So I contact G-Tech and they say, no, of course it's not us. And of course it isn't them, because again, I've used it on all my other cars. There's no problem there. So they don't know what to do. Tesla do not know what to do, and I understand that. So then there's a radio silence while I'm driving around in a car that I can't see properly. So they then decide to run their own tests. This is where I should have realized something was going on. They then say to me, we're trying to replicate this issue you're having in one of our cars. Well, we already know that one of their cars is perfect because I drove it. So they're going to try it in their other car, not the car that is perfect. They're going to try it in another car that I haven't driven, and they're going to replicate the problem so that they can fix it once they replicate it. Now, I didn't know how they could replicate it if the car was fine, but that was up to them. And then they replicated it, but they didn't. So what they did was they took the car out, one of their cars, they took it out and they placed it underneath a lamp, like a street lamp, and they put the windscreen washer on, and the blades went back and forward, and it looked like this screen was smearing slightly. It was a really minor smear, by the way. I can't show you the video because the video isn't mine. And that's what they do. That's their test, a 7-second test. That's the only clip they sent me. They then call me and they say, so we've replicated the problem and there's nothing wrong with your screen. This is a characteristic of the car. This is a characteristic of the Model 3. They did one test and they concluded that it is on all cars. This is a characteristic of the Model 3. Now this seemed really odd to me. One, it wasn't raining. They didn't replicate any of my results from all of my videos. The other thing was, did they have authority to say that this is a characteristic of the Model 3? That means it's a characteristic of all Model 3s, right? And interestingly enough, the whole way along during this process, I've been trying to speak to somebody above them, because everybody has a boss, but they don't. There's no one above them, no one. Except there is. I just can't speak to them because they won't let me. But somebody above them told them this was a characteristic of the car, that my car is fine. There's nothing wrong with my vision. This happens on all Model 3s. What you're seeing now, that's on all Model 3s, except for their loan car. It didn't happen on that one. But I'm guessing the reason it didn't happen on that car was because that's a blue car, and it only happens on white cars. But either way, it makes no sense. They gave a blanket statement when prior to it, they'd never seen this problem before or ever heard of it. But after performing a test that took 7 seconds long, under street lamps, in dry conditions, with windscreen washer fluid, that created the slightest smear while it was doing it, and then evaporated. Mine doesn't evaporate. Mine stays there during the rain, permanently, over and over again. And that's what they're going to do. They're now going to do nothing. They've decided there's nothing wrong with the car. It's a characteristic of the car. It's perfect. Don't worry about it. It's fine. So what you can't see? It doesn't matter. And when I said to them that this is dangerous to drive at night, their response was, well, don't drive it at night. Okay, I'll just drive it in the day. I probably don't even need it at night, right? What if there's an emergency? Sorry, you're going to have to wait. I can't see. I'll get a taxi. That's their point. They honestly, I believe, they didn't know what to do, so they did nothing. They tried to replicate it, which they didn't do. Instead, they created a smear and said, this is the problem. It's a problem on all Model 3s, and it isn't. And that's where we are right now. They're not going to help. They're done with it. They're done with the problem because the problem doesn't exist, because it's a characteristic of the Model 3. I would love to know what your thoughts and comments are on this. Leave them down below. Please feel free to share this video. I've reached out to Tesla. I've reached out to them on all fronts and they have declined to comment. They've not even wrote back, nothing. I wrote a really large email to Tesla Bristol. They didn't bother writing back, nothing. They phone instead, but they don't write back. They don't write, so I put the bullet points of what's wrong and what's wrong with their response, that they have a care of duty to me, despite the fact that they don't know what the problem is. There is a problem because we have the test footage of their other car that doesn't have the problem. That car didn't have that characteristic. but apparently they do, all of them. Please let me know your comments, because I'm up to here with it. I have a car that is unsafe to drive at night, and I really don't know what else to do, because they are giving no help anymore, nothing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.